Okay, the live stream has started. One moment. It's the 26th. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Poetry and Prose. This is our spooky session of folklore and old talk, and we welcome Halloween. So thank you so much for coming. We have lots of readers today. It's the 26th of October, 2025, and we're going to jump right into it. Our first reader for today is the one and only Cynthia Birch. She's reading a fantasy story from Hindu mythology. Cynthia, thank you for reading. The floor is yours.
Thanks very much. Are you hearing me okay?
I am.
Good.
Loud and clear, loud and clear.
Lovely. Fantasy is a genre of abstract fiction involving magical elements and set in an imaginary time and place. It often comes as oral traditions inspired by religion, mythology, or folklore. At present, it has expanded into various modern means of communication, such as film, graphic novels, animated movies, and video games. Most fantasy stories use magic, magical creatures, witches and sorcerers, gods and goddesses of ancient religions, and talking animals in their plots. Religion and mythology play a great part in their telling, and these stories involving miracles, supernatural weapons, mythical and fairy tale creatures are often referenced in modern-day religious teachings. Today, I want to talk about a few of these fantastic elements from Hindu mythology of thousands of years ago. If it weren't for the golden deer, the Ramayana could not have been written, and Hinduism in Trinidad would probably have been non-existent. The Ramayana tells the story of Lord Rama's exile to the forest with his wife Sita and brother Lakshman, and his battle with Ravan. In that dark and dangerous forest, Rama and his brother built a small and beautiful hut as protection from wild animals, demons, and wicked spirits. The evil Ravan coveted Rama's wife, the beautiful Sita, but since she paid him no attention, he decided to kidnap her. Sita, however, was protected by a magical circle of energy around her, but which prevented anyone access to her home. She was warned never to step outside the circle. Whenever she was alone, while her husband searched for food, this magic circle was activated. Ravan tried to enter this magic circle but found that he couldn't get in. He enlisted the help of the wicked demon magician Marisha, but the magic of Rama was too great for him. So they came up with a plan. Marish would change himself into a golden deer with silver spots and would lure Sita outside the circle where Ravan would grab her. Marish began grazing near the hut so Sita could see him. Sita spotted the golden deer. She begged her husband to get it for her. The deer ran off at great speed with Rama and Lakshman chasing after it. Because it ran so fast, Rama realized it was not a real deer and shot an arrow after it. As the arrow struck, Marish returned to his real form, the demon magician. As Marish lay dying, he cried out, imitating Rama's voice, help me, oh dear Sita." Sita, on hearing this, ran out of the protective circle where Ravan was lurking, dressed as a beggar, and he seized her and went away in his magic flying chariot, the Pushpak Viman. The lesson here is all that glitters is not gold. In the Ramayana, we also read about Jatayu, a huge eagle-like bird who witnessed Sita's abduction. High up in the air, he tried to stop Ravan. A great battle ensued, but Ravan had an enchanted sword called the Chandrahasa. He had been gifted this by the gods in an earlier time when he was virtuous. This sword could not be broken and would cut through any material. He cut off one of Jatayu's wings, and the bird fell to the ground. Rama found him dying and gave the bird salvation, who, before he went to heaven, pointed to the direction in which Ravan had gone. In another story from the Ramayana, Lord Rama is resting on the lap of Sita when he dozes away. He had had a long and tiring day hunting and searching for food. Sita sings a lullaby and he falls asleep. A mischievous boy, Giant, was nearby, and he assumed the form of a crow. He wanted to play with Sita, but she ignored him, instead stroking the head of the sleeping Rama. Giant the crow became angry. He then pecked Sita twice on her feet. Sita's cries woke up Rama, who saw the crow with blood on his beak and recognized him as Giant. He was angry and fitted a special arrow to his bow, said a sacred mantra, and let it go towards Giant. But this was no ordinary arrow. It was called the Brahmastra and was a special gift from the gods. It was made from a special grass, but like the drones of today, it had the ability to follow its target wherever it went, turning corners, going up and down, and even sideways. Giant took off running zigzagged at first and then flew up in the air, but the arrow followed. Wherever he went, the arrow followed. He sought the help of the other gods, the sages and rishis, for refuge, but all they could offer him was advice. Go back to Rama and Sita and apologize. The crow flew around the entire universe, but the enchanted arrow followed. At last, he returns to Rama and Sita and apologizes. Rama and Sita accept his apology, but the Brahmastras, as these arrows were named, once released, cannot be withdrawn. Rama is compassionate, so he guides the arrow, which grazes one of the crow's eyes, causing minimal damage. This is why, to this day, crows have squinty eyes. Thanks to Motilal for this story.
Very good.
Thank you for reading, Cynthia.
Very welcome.
Any comments?
Yeah,
Well,
I have a comment. I've been following some posts on YouTube where there's a debate on whether the Ramayana is history or mythology. I don't know if anybody's following that. I do believe it's history. And, they found an ancient city, Dwarka, out in the ocean. Has anybody seen that? Even the Prime Minister went down the submarine to see the ancient city, the Prime Minister of India. I think it's history that has been lost. And, British colonizers, anything they don't know or understand, they call it mythology. But that's just something I like to follow online because there's so many videos about this. I don't know if anyone has have followed or investigated this.
Mutilal, have you heard that?
I am yes, up to a point, but there's also this they say that this bridge that was supposed to be built from India to Sri Lanka
Yes.
underground it still exists.
Oh, yes.
These bridge of stones, yes. But I really want to commend Cynthia in the way she handled this story, and she did an excellent job with the pronunciation. And I want to say congratulations, Cynthia. I
had a
sure
very good teacher. Thank you.
it was very well done, and I don't know if Vishnu want to say anything we're still very familiar with the Ramayana.
No, no, it was done well. It was really done well. No, she did a good job in it, I think. I followed the story clearly.
I chose that because we just had Diwali, so that's
Yes.
why I gave that story to Cynthia.
It was a good choice. Thank you, Cynthia, for reading. Thanks, Mutilal, for providing the story. And we will move along to Mutilal as he's appearing on our screen now. And he'll be reading Revenge.
Just hold on, page 14. Page 9. Okay, my story is called Revenge. Storytelling is an art that has survived the ages. However, many fairy tales and legends, many fairy tales and the legends behind them are actually the diluted version of uncomfortable and gruesome historical events. As children, we were told stories, not only as entertainment, but as cautionary messages to teach us moral lessons, as in Aesop fables, or that obeying our parents will keep us safe from harm. Albert Einstein, the great scientist, said, if you want your children to be intelligent, read them fairy tales. If you want them to be more intelligent, then read them more fairy tales. In addition to the storybooks at school, Grimm's fairy tales, Andersen fairy tales, and others, my grandmother treated us to a diet of stories she brought from her ancestors from India. Some were delightful tales about princes and princesses, kings and queens, or heroes who saved their village from disaster. But there were many that were scary and horrifying. I remember my grandmother sitting us down in the darkness as she told some of the most creepiest stories. Although we were scared, we always seemed to prefer the stories that frightened us the most. Let me share one of my grandmother's hair-raising stories. There was once a man and his wife who had an only son. They lived in a small village, and as was the custom of that time, they had arranged, while the son was still a boy, for him to be married to his mother's rich relative when he grew up. As the boy became a young man, he fell in love with another village girl. She had no parents and grew up with her brother, who was poor. His greedy mother was furious, but the boy wouldn't budge. The dowry was small, but the grasping mother in law took it all, as well as the bride's jewelry. The father in law was all right, but the mother in law was cruel. Every day, after father and son went to work, she treated the new bride with brutality. She had to clean, wash, cook, and lay the floor. If the mother in law wasn't satisfied, she beat the daughter in law. Sometimes she wasn't given food. She bore it all and said nothing to her husband and father in law. But this did not make things better. The old lady was plotting how to get rid of her. One day, when her son and husband went to work in the fields, she put the poor girl in a bag, tied it up, and placed it on her bull cart and headed for the cremation ground. She planned to put her on a stack of wood and burn her. The girl tried to scream, but her mouth was tied. As she was about to light the fire, The woman realized that she had forgotten her matches and went home to get some. Meanwhile, there were three watchmen at the cremation site. They saw the bag atop the stack of wood. It was wiggling. Curious, they approached and opened it. They screamed when the girl rolled out, thinking that the dead had come alive and, being very frightened, they began chanting a prayer from the Holy Ramayana. भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम. Meaning, all ghosts and demons and evil forces disappear at the mention of your name, O Lord. As they became calm, they freed the girl and she told them her story. They were all afraid of the old woman, so they filled the sacks with charcoal and other burnt material from the cremation ground and put it back on the pyre. They hid and waited. Sure enough, the old woman returned singing. Today you're going to meet your mama and papa, and my son go marry a rich man's daughter. She soaked the bag with pitch oil and watched happily as it began to burn. Later in the evening, the girl began the long journey towards her village, intending to go back to her brother's home. The evening came and she was tired. Soon she came to a Ganesha temple and she stopped to rest. As she was sleeping, three thieves arrived. They had stolen jewels and fine clothing from a rich man's house, and the police were after them. They decided to hide the loot among the murtis in the temples so that they would not be caught with it. Anyone who has visited a Hindu temple would know that the murtis are decorated with much jewelry. When the police arrived, there was no jewelry to be seen with the men, so they left. All this time, the girl hiding behind the largest murti of Lord Ganesh, the protector, was praying, Om Gam Ganapataye Namo Nama Siddhi Vinayaka Namo Nama Ashta Vinayaka Namo Nama Ganapati Baba Moria. She was asking Lord Ganesh for protection. Lord Ganesh answered, Beti, you will always be under my protection. Take the stolen jewelry from the murtis, for they are inauspicious for us gods. Let this be a gift from the gods, and may it help you with from your poverty. She dressed herself and, with the jewels and fine clothes, went to her mother-in-law's house. The old lady was shocked. Who are you? She asked. It's me, your daughter-in-law, was the reply. But how? I burnt you? Yes, you did burn me. But I went to heaven and met my mama and papa. They said I was too young to be dead and to take these jewels and go back to my home and have a happy life. So I came back here. Really? Said the greedy woman. Then you must burn me too, so I could meet my parents and get jewels from them. But the girl refused, and the old hag called her ungrateful. Still, she went to the cremation site and paid a large sum of money to the watchmen who knew what she was and were only glad to carry out her wishes and burn her. Thank you.
Thanks, Mutilal. Any comments?
That was an interesting twist at the end.
Motilal, I remember reading that story of yours, and it was just so wonderful. I remember when I was reading it, I'll tell you the truth, that I wanted to be able to sing all of those little psalms that you were singing, all of the mantras that you were singing, but I've decided not to. But anyway, what I liked so much too about it is that you talked about your grandmother, hearing all of your stories from your grandmother. And I remembered also hearing that when I was growing up in Trinidad, and that was such an important time for me too. But thank you so much. It was great hearing it and hearing you do it, and you're singing. You know, I always love that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was going
Right,
to
Althea.
say, it's always lovely when I hear Motilal sing, because it brings his story so much better to life. I say, you see, I can't do that, so I'll have to do some more lessons.
Not from Krishna.
It was delightful. No, Motilal is the one who got to teach me those songs.
Yes, yes, we have to do that. Althea, you was saying something?
No, I wanted to say that a lot of these tales, fairy tales, Nancy stories have something in common, or even the European Grimm tales, they have something in common, is that the good is rewarded and the evil is punished. So that is a universal theme, I find, that runs throughout all of these tales.
You know, you mentioned Grimm tales, and
Yeah.
sometimes I think that these fairy tales are really grim.
Well, yeah. Some of them are quite violent, and sometimes when I'm reading these fairy tales to my grandchildren, I wonder how they would affect, depending on the age of the child, how would they affect them psychologically? You know, would they have nightmares? I know our parents told us a lot of tales too, and at night, perhaps we peed our beds because we were afraid to get up and go out because, you know, these zombies or evil spirits or bad wolves or whatever will come to get us. So, yeah, so that is that negative side to it, the psychological impact. But they do teach a lesson.
I agree with that. You know, when I was about 5 or 6 years old in Marabella, we lived near the Union Park racetrack. I don't know if that still exists. And and just to prevent me from straying away from home at age 5, going to play here, there, and everywhere, my dad told me that I better watch it, because if I stray too far from home, the people at the race course would take my liver and feed it to the race horses. And that scared the hell out of me for about a good few years after that. Yeah. I was afraid to go too far from home. I didn't want any racehorse eating my liver.
But I think the idea of having this safe, idyllic world is relatively new in our society for a great bit of it. It still is very much a very harsh world, and parents were terrified of losing their children.
Well, they wanted to keep you in track, because I remember that because in those days the horse racing business was mostly foreigners, and they used to tell us that the Yankees would take our liver to feed the horses.
Oh,
So
I thought he made that up.
no, it is true, because if when we was going to school and if we happened to see a Land Rover, because usually we associated the Land Rover, the soldiers, with Land Rovers. And if we were walking to school and we happened to see a Land Rover, we would just disappear into the cocoa plantation until the Land Rover passed. Yeah, so yes, Frank, I had that experience too.
Oh,
Yeah, but if we think about it, there was a foreign entity in our land that pretty much could have done anything they wanted with little to no repercussions.
Yeah.
So they were smart to tell you to, and their reputation towards people of our look likings wasn't a great one. So your
Yeah.
parents was actually like, look, you see those people? Stay away from them.
Yeah. Gersha,
I
that is
think it was
a new phrase, look likings.
She made it up.
She made that up.
I'm speaking in code. Those who know will know. Those who won't, well, it was not for you.
Just want to tell Frank, yes, the racetrack at Marbella is no longer there. We have one racetrack in Trinidad and Tobago, and that's at Arima. Because the plan was to centralize racing and to put it at Caroni. But that was shelved when there was a protest against it. That was with John O'Halloran's big plan to end all racing and to have only one track at Caroni. So it's no longer there. And secondly, yes, I too was threatened with getting horse eat my liver. Whenever you ventured too far out of home, that is in Sandy Grande. When we ventured too far out now in the evening, and we went back home, the grandmother would say, "You're afraid to kidnap you and give your liver to the horse." So that was one of the things they use now, just to keep you in check. But the other ones, well, the others we did when and not to climb a tree after 6 o'clock, things like that, just to keep you in check.
Yeah.
That was one of their means of maintaining discipline.
Well, that's very, very interesting. I'm glad we talked about this, because I thought that liver thing was something my dad fabricated. I didn't know it was a common expression.
Yeah, well, I suppose it would have spread culturally.
Yeah.
With culture.
Yeah.
Spread. As so many things when you hear about things in the deep south, traditions and so on, and you from the east, and it's the same thing, that's part of cultural transmission.
Yeah.
Also, it's nice to see you, Jenny Lynn.
Hello, how are you? Althea was going to say something.
Yeah, I would like to add that I know in the island of Antigua, they had what you call heart men, that if you were out walking too late, there were people who would capture you and cut your heart out and use your heart for sacrifices to enrich themselves. So there is some truth. So there is some truth to that, to that story of keeping you safe, because there were bad people out there who were ruthless and would cut your heart out to enrich themselves, to achieve political power or to achieve power in general, So that's the other end of it, not just livers, but hearts as well.
Well, if you think of organ harvesting and sale of organs, it has been happening for years and we didn't know, and now we know more about
Yeah,
it. It was probably
yeah.
just happening and we didn't know in the past. It wasn't formal knowledge like it is now.
Yeah. But now they can take your body parts and you could still manage to stay alive in these modern times. If someone catches you on time and takes you to the hospital, and then you get a chance to tell your story.
Then they put you in the psychiatry department.
Well, yes.
Okay, on that note, this is certainly a spooky session.
Yeah.
All right, we're
That's a
gonna
note.
jump ahead to Heather. She will be reading Marlene and Her Dream Girl.
Well,
Heather,
the
floor is
story is kind of, I concocted this story, so we'll see if there's a lot of little elements in it that are familiar. Marlene and Her Dream Girl. Canna girl, you ever hear about any lady lagahu? Marlene asked Candy. Girl, what the hell you talking about? We in 2025 now, we? That is some old long time story mommy and them used to tell to get us to behave. It was a control mechanism, like them old fashioned stories slave owners used to say to control slaves and keep them from running away in the bush. Candy remarked as she scoffed at Marlene's question. Marlene looked crestfallen. She wanted an intelligent answer. She didn't want to be laughed at. She felt she was in real trouble. Candy saw her look of disappointment and felt sorry. Why you ask me, Gil? She asked Marlene. Like something wrong? Marlene broke down crying. 3 nights now I dream the same Gil, but I only chased you from the back. I feel like it's some kind of warning. What she look like? Candy asked. Well, she's slim, with long hair hanging down she back, and she in a blue dress. But when I try and catch up to she fade away. I wonder if the dream mean I going undead. Marlene at last confessed her fear. Nonsense, Gil, Candy said. You're stressed out. You need a break from working in that rum shop. The place too busy, and it have loud music blaring all the time. It's not a good place for you. You have a big degree now. You need a better job. You're right, Gil. It's just it was the only place I get a job, and I look in so long now. Marlene had returned to Trinidad from foreign, where she had gone to attend university. Back home from the cold north, where the snow is like a cocoon that insulates you from sounds, she had to get used again to the constant cacophony of city sounds. Horns blaring, music blasting, traffic humming, street vendors shouting out their wares, steel band practicing, and even the radio on constantly in the house because mommy feels good company for she. Noise plus sleepless nights interspersed with vivid dreams when she did sleep was ruining Marlene's sense of peace. After 4 years in foreign, she wondered if there was such a thing as reverse culture shock. Also, mommy told she right off the plane she didn't want any grown woman home on she hands whole day. So she take the first job she get, which was way beneath her abilities and education. The job in the busy rum shop sucked the life out of her, though, as she came home angry most nights from the male dominated slant Trini culture still held, even though it was 2025. Men made sexist remarks to her or treated her like a servant there to cater to their needs, and even had expectations and suggestions that went beyond serving drinks. Marlene accepted Candy's viewpoint on her fears and dreams. But that is when things went up a notch, and she actually saw the girl from her dreams in real life. It was when she was walking downtown and she was wide awake. She caught sight of the girl from behind, the same blue dress, the same long hair, but the girl turned slightly sideways before disappearing into the crowd. Marlene began to shake uncontrollably. That is just a coincidence, Candy said when Marlene told her. You're thinking about it so long, you're making it happen. I feel I'm losing my mind, Marlene said. Marlene took her time off on the weekend to go by the botanical gardens. She enjoyed the walk around, the time to relax, the lovely flowers. She had missed all of this in foreign. She sat on a bench and, lulled by the warm breeze and strange quiet, she drifted off for a minute. No sooner did she achieve a deeper sleep, but something woke her. She looked up with a start and saw the dream girl, as she now called her. This time, the girl faced her full on, and the girl had her face. Marlene looked at her for a split second, this time noticing she was holding a book. By the time Marlene reached out to her, she disappeared, leaving Marlene to ponder what she had just witnessed. That's it, Marlene decided. I go in and find an Obia woman to tell me what's going on. When Candy heard, she laughed at that idea. Where you going and find an Obia woman in this day and age? We in 2025 now, not in the dark ages again. It bound to have somebody somewhere who going to straighten this out for me, Marlene said. That night, Marlene had her most vivid dream yet. A girl came to her and had a blank page in one hand and a pen in the other. She looked at Marlene with Marlene's own face and disappeared. The next day, Marlene told Candy, that girl have my face. She is me. You know the German theory of the doppelganger? They say when you meet your own self like that, you're going to die. This time, Candy said nothing. The whole thing was getting too creepy. It was back working a shift at the rum shop that Marlene heard about Ma Bell. On a quiet weekday evening just before payday when everybody broke and there was just a few customers in the rum shop, she served an old man sitting alone in a corner. As she handed him his rum, she sat down across from him and asked in a low voice, you know any Obia woman I could talk to? Well, we don't say the word Obia again, you know. Although Obia is still around, now is spiritual healer. You know the word Obia had a bad meaning in the past and it used to make everybody afraid. But Obia was always part of we culture, so it's still going strong, the man said, continuing. I know a lady up in Paramin. She go help you. Here, let me give you instructions on how to go by she. And he wrote down something on a piece of paper telling her, watch for a sign in front of the house with a white horse on the top. Is then you're going to know your reach. Marlene took the next Sunday and went up by Paramin. As the city faded below her, her anxiety oozed away. The air felt cooler and fresher, and a quiet enveloped her, folding her into the clouds like a blanket. It was as if she entered a whole other dimension. She went along a trail no wider than a few feet, admiring the snippets of ocean seen through the spaces in the surrounding bush. There was not a soul in sight, and she was just wondering if she was on the right path when she saw an old wooden house sitting on the edge of a cliff. It had a sign in front of it. The sign had a picture of a white horse over the name Ma Bell. Marlene rang a bell that looked like a smaller version of her school bell mounted on a frame on a string hanging from the clapper. An old lady with a wrinkled face and kindly smile opened the door. Her head was tied up in a colorful cloth and she wore a gypsy skirt and shift-like blouse. She spoke with a French patois accent. Morning, morning, she greeted Marlene. Come in, come in. Good morning, Mabel, Marlene responded nervously. She entered the house, which was enchanting in an old-fashioned way. Highly polished wooden floors, a neat Morris furniture set like her grandma's with flowered cushions and matching curtains made the place feel homey. And added touches like piles of books, fresh flowers from the garden, and a hanging chandelier all came together to create a feeling of fantasy far up above the frenetic world of the busy, vibrant population that existed in the city below. Mabel waved Marlene over to a table by a huge window that looked out over the sloping terrain that descended to the sea in the distance. Birds chirped and cicadas clicked as the gentle breeze blew in the leafy aromas from the bush. At once, Marlene relaxed. She told the tale of her recent visions of the dream girl to Marbel, who sat with a knowing smile on her wizened face. It is as if she had heard it all before. Then she spoke. That girl ain't no evil spirit. She is what we call in folklore La Grande Soie. She is your higher self. And she trying to give you a message. All of we have La Grande Soie. It is a new folklore character for these modern times, but is really as old as humankind. Some people call it an intuition, the inner voice, or a gut reaction. And for everybody, it's different. For you, is a girl like you. For somebody else, it might be a departed pet, a family member, or even a building like the house you grew up in. Plenty people ignore it, dulling up their senses with everyday matters. The rush to buy the latest things selling, to keep up with the neighbors, fed till you drop, working dead end job just to survive. The list is endless. Marbell paused. Marlene felt a sense of relief, but asked, well, what about the book and the pen and the paper? It is a message. You have to become a writer. It is your destiny. You have a gift God gave you, and you must honor it. You are presently in the wrong job, although it served its purpose of sending you to me. Look in the Guardian for an advertisement for a writer and apply. You're bound to get a job. And leave your mommy house is not your place of peace. In any case, you will have to move closer for your job, and you will find a quiet room far from traffic, loud music, and other disturbances. Your writing for the newspaper will give you free time in the evenings to write your own stories. And as a born observer, you are most capable. Capture your world, look around. Everybody have a story, from the vagrant on the bench around the savannah to the customer in the rum shop, from the poorest of the poor to the high and mighty. But will the dream stop? Will the dream girl go away? Marlene asked. She may not, but you don't have to afraid she is no different than a symbol of folklore character like Papa Bois or Madame Lowe, who exist in our imaginations to help us to make sense of the world. You know, the noise of the world of everyday living takes us away from ourselves. It drowns out the voices that speak to us. Our duty to others also interferes with our self knowledge. The need to please others, our mommy and daddy, our bosses, our teachers, all the people in our lives. They take away parts of ourselves. We have to learn how to get back to our core selves, like Derek Walcott wrote in his poem, Love After Love. You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Help others, but heed la grande soir always, said Mabel. Then she rose from the table. Now we ready for tea. Let me try out these rum and raisin biscuits I just made. Another month passed by before Marlene made meet up with Candy again. They bounced up downtown where Marlene had gone to do a client interview for the newspaper. Oh, Marlene Gill, long time no see. How you doing, eh? Candy said in surprise. Nice to see you, Gill. I doing much better now, Marlene said. Let we get together soon, eh? But you're looking 10 years younger, girl, like all your stress gone, Candy said. Yes, you were right. I was stressed out. I changed jobs. I'm working for the Guardian now and living on my own too. I'm doing 100% better, Marlene said. I see a healer lady up in Paramin who fixed me up real good, girl. One day I will carry you to see her. Paramin? The only healer I know of that side was Mabel, Candy said with a shocked look on her face. Yes, yes, it's she self, Mabel. A old man in the rum shop tell me about she. He even draw a map for me of how to reach my she. Look, I have the paper in my purse, Marlene said. You, I know how to tell you this, but everybody know about she. That case make headlines when you were in foreign. One night a few years back, two thief go by she and they end up killing she. Candy said in shock. Look up the newspaper from 2 years back, you go see. Marlene stood on the sidewalk in the middle of the downtown crowd, and felt cold like she was in the middle of a snowstorm in foreign, with all the color drained from her face. The end. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. What a story. Oh my, it was captivating from beginning to end. Any comments, Althea?
Yes, I'm thinking, is it Marbell or Maribel?
Marbell. M.A.
Marbell.
Bell. Yeah.
Okay. She sounds like a modern day therapist.
Yeah.
A therapist, but you have to pay. Well, the Obeah woman, you have to pay too. the therapist you have to pay, but it sounds exactly like what a therapist would tell their, well, not patient or the person who comes to seek their advice and, that sort of thing. So
When
so
you
the shock at the end is that she that she was a zombie or she was dead. That was very disappointing.
I give good advice, but she's really dead.
when you wrote that that segment where she was giving the interpretation of the dream and whatnot, it was very well done. It was her advice. In fact, her advice was so profound. I was going to ask you for a phone number.
Yeah.
But the way you wrote it, it was very well done in terms of, I did a bit of therapy in my time. I used to see patients after my regular hours. And, there's a type of therapy called cognitive behavior therapy. And it sounded like something that I might have told people, except I wasn't dead. So,
yeah.
Well, the significant, I must tell you that the significance of the little white horse is in Halifax. There was a little, like a new age type of store with hippie type stuff. And it was called the White Horse. It's not there any longer, but I used to go there when I went to the city of Halifax. And there was a fortune teller there one day, and she had an opening of 15 minutes. All I got was 15 minutes from her, but this is before I was working. She told me, oh, this is ad in the paper, look it up. It's just about this big in that section of the paper. And they need a writer for the newspaper. And I didn't apply. But I had a friend who worked there who said, look, they're really looking for writers. And this is what started my writing career. And after I wrote for 20 years for the paper, I continued writing my own stories. But it was the little white horses where I had met this person that told me that. So that's why that little sign has a white horse with the woman's name. It's just my own personal thing. But you see this is exactly what the fortune teller told me is what this therapist tells her. You're meant to be a writer. So, there's a little bit of my story in there too, that way.
Okay.
Excellent.
Heather, I'm sorry. You want to go, Thea?
No, I was just going to ask her quickly if this one is this one published yet, or is it going to be in the next book?
In the next book, like I'm starting a book called Roadside. This is why she works in a rum shop, because it's Tales from the Roadside Rum Shop is my next book, and I'm starting to do stories for it. But like I was telling Gusha, I'm going in for an operation, and just in case I don't come back, I want to leave this book with my husband so he could publish it next year for me.
Okay.
No, this is why I've been writing a lot. I'm trying to rush everything, so I can make room for this operation in my life coming up. So
Heather,
I'm almost going too quickly with my writing. Sorry.
Heather, I just wanted to say what I love about your story is that you build a world that really grabs the reader in. I mean, from the beginning, from the start of the story, you just you build this world. I mean, particularly when we go to see the, Marbelle, and how you describe going to Paramin, and it's just really it's really wonderful. It's wonderful. I love your story, and that what you did too is that like you did this whole modern twist to that story that frightened us as a child. I mean, I remember hearing about that strange faceless woman, and so you did a whole modern twist to it, which was really, really wonderful. Thank you, and all the best in your surgery. I expect that I will see you again, and you'll continue doing wonderful work. Thanks.
Well, you keep hearing about these 70-something-year-olds that are dropping out. Cynthia to look up to because she keeps spurring me on. So but yeah, I'm just kind of living in isolation and writing all the time at this point in my life. Oh, and you know what we were talking about, all these little things that parents tell you to keep you from straying. I did kind of allude to that because when when I started it, and the Marlene told Candy about what she was seeing, and Candy says, "Oh, that's kind of the stories that our parents told us to make us behave." Or even the slave owners told the slaves to keep them from running away in the bush. That kind of goes a throwback to what we were talking about earlier about the liver and the heart. Yeah.
Those stories about Laja Bless and Papa Bois and all that, but did they originate from, let's say, slave owners trying to keep people from running away into the bush? Is that the origin?
I don't know about that. I know I wrote that, but I'm not really sure. I always took Lal knows where I grew up. There was a lot of bush around because we had a house in the middle of 42 acres of just bush. And I think that my parents used to tell me stories like that to keep me from going in the bush, because once you go in there and you get lost, it's hard to find you, So it was a behavioral tactic on the part of the parents. I don't know about the bigger picture. If yeah, I don't know if slave owners actually use that tactic, but
Right. Somebody asked me that last night because I showed the art at an event, and I have a painting with the Trinidadian folklore characters, Dwen and Papa Bois, Suki, and this person knew nothing about Trinidad or the Trinidadian culture. And she asked, "What is the purpose of this?" It was a strange question, and I didn't know how to answer.
So you know anything about that, Krish?
That? No, I don't know about. You see, that would be like it is the white man telling these stories, but what I know is that they're African in origin. They have European, the Lagahu, the Lugadu is Lagahu, right? The werewolf. That would be European in origin, but from what I understand, it's African in origin.
Okay.
So I can't see white man telling the there's a Dwen here, and if you don't follow him, he's gonna lead you out of my plantation. Okay, so that would be but it's interesting. It's an interesting question you asked. How much was used to keep the slaves on the plantation? But I have my doubts about that. What I would like to further comments, I would like to use that little this little opening to add my comments to Heather's book. Yes, so Heather, I don't know about the surgery, but I know you're writing Fast and Furious, and you have pecan, pilau, and pepper sauce. And then this one, Tales from a roadside rum shop. In addition to that, so what Heather is doing, Heather is producing, and I'd like to congratulate Hulu on the production of her book, Village Greens. I had a read of it. And then there is, so there's a little advertisement I use in here, Kamta Prasad's The Scene and the Spoken. He's very proud of it. His photo was a photographic poem collection, right? There's photos and poems. Well done, Kamta. So I want to congratulate him. And I also congratulate Althea. We see her posting on Facebook some of the the anthologies that she has been published in. So it's nice to see members of Poetry and Prose hugging the airwaves, hugging the airwaves. Other things about Heather's story. So Heather narrates stories, but what she does is that she laces the narration. I have seen this with valuable information about our history, our traditions, our beliefs, in this, our superstitions. So she narrates and laces the narration, giving information through the stories. This one also, I would like to commend her for her description of Paramin, especially that the little pieces where you talk about seeing snippets of sea, the climb, the clouds, and so on. I have never been to Paramin. To go there, you need a Land Rover. You have to go high beyond a certain spot. You have to hire somebody to take you higher. But I've never been to Paramin. I just watch it from the distance when I go in Maracas. You look across and you see Paramin. So it is a high place. And what you also included in this story, what Frank was talking about, the therapy part, where so much explanation is given. I like what you said about these kind of traditions and beliefs and superstitions. They exist in the imagination to help us make sense of the world. I take that from the story there. A lovely line from it, explaining, preparing for the explanation of so much. Yeah, so that's my little intervention. Thank you.
Thank you, Krishna. And we're going to move ahead to Vishnu. Vishnu is going to be reading for us The Rakas by Kumar Mahavir. Vishnu, the floor is yours. Vishnu, your camera is off. Okay, and go ahead and unmute.
Right, good. All right, fine. So I'm reading from Kumar Mahavir's book called Indian Caribbean Folklore Spirits. And actually in this book, what he has done, he has researched a lot of folklore spirits and all that from the countryside. He has names like the Rakhas, the Churail, the Sapin, the Baba, the Jinn, Sheikh Sadiq, and things like that. And in his research, he has gotten testimonies from people who say they have actually experienced or know something firsthand. And I'm just going to read one piece from the book itself. It's by, it just happened to be a lady from Cuba. 85-year-old lady named Kamla. I have no idea who she is, but this is Kumar's story. A long time ago in central Trinidad, there was a young woman who belonged to the Makhan family. Her parents had arranged for her to marry into a traditional family that was originally from India. She lived with her new husband and his parents in a village called BC in Cuba. Soon after her marriage, the woman became pregnant. Her husband complained that he was not ready to take care of a child, so she tried to abort the baby. She visited an old woman in a nearby village who gave her several mixtures to drink. None of it worked, and she later gave birth to an abnormal child. The child was born at 6 o'clock one evening with the help of her mother-in-law, who was also a midwife. The woman realized that something was wrong when she saw her mother-in-law's reaction. The young woman was too scared to look at her own child, and word quickly spread through the village about the strange-looking child that people called the Rakshas. It resembled a monkey. Villagers from the nearby housing barracks rushed to the woman's home to see for themselves. The creature suddenly jumped through the window, climbed to the roof, and sat there. It moved with great speed and agility. Its arms and legs were covered with hair, and it had long nails on its fingers and toes. The creature coiled its tail into a ball and gazed at the curious villagers below. They all stared in awe. Many of them had never seen such a strange creature before. It responded by opening its mouth and showing its long, vampire-like teeth. "What is that?" asked one of the villagers. "Looks like a Rakshas," an elderly woman replied. "It's an evil creature and should be killed right away." "We can't just kill it," said one villager. "If we don't, it will kill its own mother and eat everything in sight." "That's right. But it's the midwife who should kill it, or it will pounce upon its mother's neck and pound her throat with those horrible long teeth," an elderly woman explained. "It can even go on a wild killing spree, and what would become of us?" someone asked. "Then we should do something," another villager joined in. "Someone should get the police. The station isn't too far away." The crowd grew larger by the second. Some villagers were curious, others were terrified. The child's mother, who was still inside the house, was in shock when she heard the villagers. She wanted to see what she had given birth to. Still weak, she managed to crawl out of bed and peep through the window. She could see She could not see above the roof, so she was helped outside by her mother-in-law. The young mother stepped back, covered her mouth with her hands, and fainted. She remained on the ground for some time while they looked or tried to revive her. Two police officers from the Cuba police station arrived within a short time. They stared in confusion at the Rakshas. Neither one of them had seen such an evil creature before. They did not know what to do. "Shoot it!" cried a villager in terror. "Shoot it before it kills somebody!" shouted another. The villagers' voices grew louder and they became disorderly. The police officers tried to gain control of the situation. One of the officers moved forward in front of the crowd. He pulled out his gun and pointed it at the Rakshas, and fear gripped every part of his body. The creature stood upright on the roof as though it was ready to leap. Bang! Bang! Loud shouts rang in the air. The officer fired two shots at the Rakshas, and it fell to the ground. The villagers froze in horror. The deafening sound of the shots still echoed. The Rakshas lay sprawled on the ground. It was covered in blood. They all felt relieved that when it did not move. The police wrapped the body of the Rakshas in a sheet and took it away. The young mother woke up in time to witness the tragedy. She was overcome with grief and cried endlessly. No one knew whether she cried for the loss of a child or if there were tears of relief. That's my contribution from Kumara's book, Indian Folklore, Caribbean Folklore Tales. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Vishnu. Any comments?
I think that is a scary story.
I just want to add something, it touches on abortion and people not wanting children. And growing up in the village, sometimes you listen to the old people talking, you're eavesdropping on the things that your mother and the neighbor saying and that you were not supposed to hear. And I remember distinctly that there was this child in the village who was well, by that time she was a big girl, and she was both mentally challenged and also physically challenged. And I heard my mother and the neighbor Saga mother talking, and they saying how that child comes so because that lady tried to throw the child, and and that is how it happened. So somehow when Vishnu was reading that, that came to my mind.
Mm.
There's also the story.
Go ahead.
There's also the story of the Sapin, which I hear when I was growing up in Esperanza.
Right. I
The
was not
Sap,
going to talk about this topic. Go ahead.
the, the, the Sapin is supposed to be a woman, a beautiful woman, who has a snake imprinted on her back. It is said that any man who marries her is almost sure to die tragically. And she can have as many as 7 husbands, and each one will die the same way. At least that's what I heard when I grew up. Not too sure more about that, but it scares you sometimes when you hear these stories. I'm trying to find.
Mm.
Okay, if you
Motila, don't you have a story like that?
He has.
Yes, I have a
Motilan
story
has the
about
classic.
shopping.
He has the classic Sapin story.
Yes,
Talk, Moti.
also Pasti Baula has a story Sapin, and
yes,
Vishnu also has a story on Sapin.
Yes.
so it's pretty popular. It is becoming popular.
So what I want to say is I mentioned a while ago, we know of the African folklore
Folklore.
that came to us, right, with slavery and so on. So the growing up, I didn't know much about the Indo folklore stories. Here is one, but not so much on superstition. This is Salt and Roti by Ken Palmaser. So Nukumar Mahabir has tried to locate, especially from the older folks who are dying and they are going with it now.
Yeah.
Some of these superstitions and folklore, and growing up myself in Sandy Grande, I was aware of Laja Bless Sukuya Twen, Laja Bless Sukuya, but not of Sapin. I met Sapin through Motilal Budu Singh. Growing up in Port of Spain, continued with Port of Spain with the same Sukuya and Laja Bless. But by that time, they started to leave because electricity came and there was no place for them anymore, except for people who wanted to write about them. So, but thanks to Motilal, I found out about Sapin, and it was a very interesting folk tale. So that is where you have the Africans, the Indians, and also the Europeans propagating their different stories.
Okay.
That makes for a rich cultural heritage.
Thanks, Krishna. If there are no other comments, we still have quite a few more people to read. We're going to move along. All right. Then we'll move along to Alyssa Janke. Hi, Alyssa. Welcome.
Come on, Alyssa.
Hi, we're not hearing you.
Hello.
Hi, we're hearing you now.
Okay, Alyssa, come in. Okay, gosh, if we're not getting Alyssa, let's move along.
Yeah.
Sure. The next reader will be Frank Mohan. Frank, the floor is yours. Frank, you're on mute.
Yeah, this is just a short excerpt from my first book there, the Peripatetic Skylark, and it's although the book is fictional, this particular anecdote is actually a true story. You're hearing me?
Ye-
Yes, we
I
are.
am. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I should preface by saying that it's a true story, and there was a single mom, a single mother with 3 boys living across the street from us when I was growing up, and she was quite a disciplinarian. And poor thing, she had to sell in the market and bake bread and so on to make money. One of the 3 boys was very, very bright, always studying. When everybody was playing outside and so on, he would be sitting studying in his veranda. So here goes. The boy's name is Alwyn Sullivan. Charlie hated Alwyn Sullivan. Seamus, that's Charlie's father. Seamus frequently pointed out Alwyn's successes. Alwyn was the oldest of 3 brothers, being raised by a single mom. They lived opposite the Bats. That's Charlie Bat. They lived opposite the Bats on the busy Margaretwood main road. They were poor, but proud and self-sufficient. Alwyn's mother, a strict disciplinarian, used to bake bread for sale in the market and do washing for other people to make ends meet. The Bats' house had electricity, and it was among the more modern of the homes along that road. The Sullivan's house was a dilapidated shack with a roof of galvanized iron held down by large rocks. The ends of the galvanized sheathing flapped up and down during rainstorms, creating a high-pitched clatter that kept the neighborhood awake. The siding was of weathered, unpainted boards. Light and rain passed through holes in the boards, holes engineered by termites. The shack was elevated 24 inches from the ground by 3 stumps for posts. The stumps were uneven in shape, color, and contour, as different species of trees were used in the construction. A veranda was separated from the yard by a banister, that was missing some vertical slats. Some slats were broken and jagged. Fractured edges were displaced from true vertical. The house could not have been more than 500 square feet in floor space. Kerosene lamps within created a dim flicker as darkness spread from above. Alwyn studied for long hours on that 10-foot veranda during the daylight hours, while other kids played hoop. I don't know if they still say hoop. There he studied, concentrated, and memorized. If he sat up at night with his relentless bookwork, he then used a small kerosene lamp placed on the bench where he sat. Charlie's father took the opportunity to point this out. He made Charlie peek out from a crack in the window from his bedroom. Hello?
Yeah, I feel like Moti, you know.
Oh. Seamus's hand.
I just muted him. Go ahead, Frank. Sorry.
Seamus's hand were firmly on Charlie's neck, gripping and guiding his reluctant head as if he was an unruly thoroughbred at the starting gate. Charlie looked at Alwyn and his lamp as Seamus lectured. Look at Alwyn. Look how he's studying so hard and using that lamp and getting all kind of scholarship and thing. We have electricity and you are doing too much in the marks department. You're making yourself stupid, playing and wasting time, and people think you're only playing stupid. All he uses for light is that cheap little lamp, and look how good he's doing in school. The next day, Charlie bought a kerosene lamp just like that one that Alwyn used to study by, hoping to realize the same successes. Well, if there was a book entitled Spare the Rod and Spoil the Child, Alwyn's mother, as the main character, would have been cited as the crackerjack of the lash or the Führer of corporal punishment. For minor transgressions, she tyrannized those 3 boys and flogged them on the veranda for all to see. She had a 3/4-inch rope that was reinforced with wire. The weapon was 3.5 feet long. She wrapped one end around her right palm twice and then closed her fist so tightly around this instrument of pain that her palmar skin turned white against the blackness of her skin. The veins flattened and the black skin of her hand became shiny from the force of the grip and the tautness of the skin. She stood in the middle of the veranda and shouted to the one about to be licked, "Pass here!" And as he passed by, she'd whang a lash reverberating with a crackle and a hiss across his back. "Pass back here!" And then he'd return along the same short gauntlet to receive another thwack across his back. Once, Alwyn was in the dock and was receiving the lashes, but the cycles of pass here and pass back here went on and on, non-stop. It seemed an eternity. A crowd gathered on the sidewalk. The bats watched from their veranda on the opposite side of the road. No one dared intervene. The zeitgeist of 1955 allowed for corporal punishment, but this whipping was definitely too much. There was no stopping the onslaught. Each strike elicited a squeal from Alwyn that flowed immediately from the thwack of the instrument of torture. The thwack and the squeal became a single discernible sound. Charlie and the other onlookers lost count of the strokes. They flinched, they squinted, and their shoulders jerked forward and flexed with each strike. Blinded with angst, Seamus hurried across the road, dodging traffic and a horse-drawn cart in full gallop. He was bound to intervene. He introduced himself to Alwyn's mother as a way of distracting her, even though he knew that she knew who he was. "Mrs. Sullivan, I am Charlie's father." He tried to reason with her about her excessiveness. She stopped and looked at Seamus. Her nostrils flared, and with pupils dilated, she produced a prolonged stoops. She dropped the weapon and picked up a ball-peen hammer and chased him right out of a yard, across the busy street, and up Seamus's front stairs and into his own veranda. She shouted, "Why you mind your own damn business?" It was, though, everyone's business, because she deliberately flogged the boys on the veranda to humiliate them in public. Abuse like this constituted a community concern. Well, 30 years later, Charlie was perusing a magazine in a dentist's office waiting room in Calgary, Canada. And he saw a picture of the same Alwyn Sullivan, now a CEO of an upscale hotel chain in England. Alwyn went on to triumph academically and gained scholarships that financed his high school and university careers. He earned a PhD in management and a Harvard MBA. He climbed from those humble and ugly beginnings to a world-renowned administrator, thanks to that kerosene lamp. Well, I should add, that I did say this was a true story, and I changed the names and the situations, of course, to protect the person. This Alwyn Sullivan, a made-up name, he actually went on to become a very prominent person in Trinidadian politics. He wasn't a politician, but an advisor to politicians.
Thanks, Frank. Any comments?
So Alvin, you said, is the name?
Yes.
So is he the one who was abused by his mother?
All three boys were.
Oh, okay. And did all three, you said it's a true story, so how did all three turn out? Is it only this one that turned out well?
Yes, only this one. He was the one that was always studying, and my dad would grab me by the neck and show me how he was studying.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess it's like a social commentary. It has like mixed, if it was a news article, mixed reviews. One of the three turned out well, but the other two were psychologically browbeaten by the mother, or?
Probably. I can't explain there. They didn't do too well. They didn't go to high school.
Yeah. So then you can say he did well despite all the negativity trauma and the negative environment. He flourished.
Yes.
Like the flower that grows on the sidewalk between the lines, great. You can say. Yes. Okay, quite an interesting story.
Yes, and 40 years later, I made contact with this fellow.
Yeah.
It was quite a nice, thing. But I mean, back then, corporal punishment was common and accepted. It was the zeitgeist of the 1950s and before.
So Frank, were you the one that went out and bought the lamp to see if you could bring your marks up like it?
He said, look at Alwyn studying.
The lamp turned out to be Canada.
I still have that lamp.
Well, Frank, you did turn out okay, huh?
Yes, it worked.
No, but Frank, I was wondering, when she was beating them so aggressively, if the story was going to take a turn about possession. I thought she looked as if she was possessed.
Oh, I see.
I thought you were getting into that. but you didn't get
Yeah.
into that.
No.
That
Krishna,
was my
I
point.
thought that
That
a
was my
genie was
point.
going to jump out the lamp.
Huh?
I thought a genie was going to jump out the lamp.
No,
It's,
you could justify, so you could justify that kind of
So,
excessive corporal punishment by saying later
yeah.
on, me know what get into me now. Some devil take me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think we need excuses for abuse, though.
Well, back then, it was an accepted method of disciplining. I mean, not as much as she did, but um, to say that I don't know what got into me. I think many people practice that type of
But
that
rage,
So is it?
Yeah.
sometimes it becomes so enraged, you really lose it.
Yes.
And
Yeah, but then
afterwards,
that's abuse if you're
afterwards,
enraged.
Yeah.
yes, and afterwards you feel it, you feel the guilt, you go into, that guilt mode,
And then
then
rationalize it.
sorrow, then rationalize, then sorrow. And you're really
Yeah.
sorry for a lifetime after that. I
Yeah.
mean, we all may have gone through that
But I
corporal
think
punishment
it's a
where
hang.
it gets beyond justice. Okay, it gets beyond justice. And it goes into a madness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jenny Lynn, you wanted to jump in?
Yes, I
Well,
have been seeing a lot of people on TikTok from Trinidad, because I haven't lived in Trinidad over 30 something odd years. But there are a lot of comedians from Trinidad, from Jamaica, from Barbados, pretending to be the angry mother. These are men, young men, pretending to be the angry mother who is taking out the rage on the child, and people laugh at it and they think it's humor. It's humorous. Okay. And there's quite a few from Trinidad that I follow, like almost on a daily basis. And so the character would pretend to be the mother and the child is being beaten and
Yeah.
and people think it's humorous. I always look at these things and I look at the comments and everybody's laughing. They have the laughing emoji, but it's terrible. It's psychological and physical torment being
Yeah.
portrayed as humorous. And I
Yeah.
think it's a hangover from slavery and indentured labor.
Yeah.
I don't know when the cycle will be broken, but people think it's funny. It's not funny at all. But so many young comedians, not older people, these are people in their 20s, and they post on a daily basis, and not just Trinidad, but other islands. I follow some of them, and these are young people. But a lot of people in the comments say, well, we need after surviving Caribbean parents, we need therapy. So some people recognize that it's a hangover from slavery and indentured labor. And, it would move to the school and then it was perpetuated now as a form of humor. I don't think it's funny,
Well,
but
I think
But
later,
I've
I think
also
later,
heard the argument that when they took corporal punishment out of schools, the behavior has gotten worse. Like, so they have that argument as well, that kids were
yes.
better behaved and there was less
Well, they
criminal
behaved
elements in school.
okay, they behaved out of fear, but that
So,
could be replaced
yeah.
with
yeah.
something
Yeah.
else. Okay, you don't need to
Yeah.
beat
But we
the
no longer
children.
hit kids in school here and stuff like that. So,
Yes. But
I'm reminded of one incident when I was growing up. Just my neighbor there, and the daughter, I was in standard 5, the common entrance class, and she was in standard 7, and they had started to do geometry. And something in those days we had what we call a geometry set,
yes.
and the mother was beating the daughter, and I could remember, I could hear it up to this day. You want jumpy set? I go buy for you. Whap, whap. You want jumpy set? And that was normal behavior at that time.
yeah.
Frank, I just want to talk about your writing because I think it's really well done. Because I think writing a scene like that can be, we can go to all different places, but the words that you choose, I mean, pass by, you know, that was
Yeah.
so, pass here was, it's chilling. I mean, you didn't have to even hear the whip go,
Yeah.
the wrapping of the rope around her palms of her hands. I mean, that's really, really wonderful writing. And I wanted to comment on that. I thought it was really well done. That was good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. That's such a lovely comment and a great observation. We're gonna move ahead. We'll try to get Alicia again if she's available. Gonna ask you to mute. Okay, try talking now.
Yes, I just messaged her and tell her that you'll call her again.
Yes.
So Alisa, if
Alicia,
you're
do
there,
you want
come
to
in,
say
please.
something? I'm seeing your mic up. Okay, let me ask her to mute. If you're speaking, we're not hearing you.
Okay, Gusha, she messaged me. She said that the mic given trouble, so let's move along.
All righty, will do. We're gonna move right along to Althea. Althea will be reading for us. White Crab.
Yes.
Okay, Althea, take it over.
Okay. I'd like to say that this story reminds me of some of Heather's stories that I read in Cassadoo Crab and Callaloo. It's a traditional Caribbean folk tale, and it's from a collection of what you call Nancy stories. But some of them are not really Anansi stories, they're just Caribbean folk tales. So White Crab walks sideways and has a crack in his back. One time long ago, there was a woman who had two beautiful daughters. One was sweet and even in disposition, helpful and very friendly. The other daughter, although beautiful, was rather cross, unpleasant in temperament, and decidedly unfriendly. One day, the friendly sister went down to the beach to bathe. There she met an old woman who was horrible looking, to say the least. She was all bent up with short, peaky hair, jiggers on her feet, and supported herself on a gnarled, crooked staff made out of silk cotton tree. She called out to the girl in a harsh, cracked voice, "Daughter, come rub me back. Come rub me back little bit and help me take these jiggers out my toes." "Of course, grandmother," the girl replied sweetly. She helped the old lady to scrub her back and take the jiggers out of her feet. When she finished, the woman thanked her. "You are a good, kind girl. I will reward you." She touched the girl with her stick, and at once she turned into a beautiful dove. She flew around the old lady's head twice in gratitude and flew away home. Once there, she turned back into a girl and told her mother and sister the story. The next day, her disagreeable sister went down to the beach and met the old woman. The old lady called her, "Come, daughter, and help an old lady to take a sea bath and get the jiggers out of her toes." "Are you crazy, old lady? Why should I help you to bathe and take nasty jiggers out of your toes? Did you put them there? You better mind your own business and leave me alone. In fact, the only reason that I came here is to be turned into a beautiful dove like my sister." "Oh, I see," said the old woman. "Well, come nearer so I can give you a reward for your treatment of me." "It's better," said the "It's better," said the girl ungraciously. She approached the old woman. "Now hurry up," she said. "I don't have all day." "For your kindness, graciousness, and your willingness to help, may you turn into what? I want to be a dove." "Crab, a crab," continued the old woman. The old woman walked. "Crab," continued the old woman. She walked sideways on crooked legs, so all can now know that it was your nasty disposition that made you so. The girl was very angry, tried to scream at the old woman, but all she could do was click, click, click with her large claws. Then she tried to nip the old lady with her large claw. The old lady whacked her good on her back, cracking her shell. "For that, you will always remain a crab and will carry forever a mark on your shell to remind you of the way you treated an old lady. And so today, every crab you meet has a dent in its shell." So, okay, the second story is a Nancy tale from Grenada. And it's called Pig. And in my part of the Caribbean, we say sukana. I think you pronounce it differently in Trinidad and Grenada. Or another name for sukana in this story is Lupgaru or Lagaru. I guess we pronounce it differently in different parts of the Caribbean. So Brunansi. And so, yeah. So in the village where Campari Zaye and Campari Tig wrote Tucumar in some Caribbean islands, there lived also an old man who was said to be a Lupgaru. On certain nights, he would slip out of his skin, roll it up tightly into a ball, and hide it in a corner. Then he would go out and terrorize the villagers, seeking their blood and leaving huge sucker marks on their bodies. The villagers went to the priest and asked him to pray for them. The priest refused because he said he did not believe in Lugarus. But he woke up one morning with a huge sucker mark on his leg and had a painful sensation around the area and became an instant believer. He tried praying, but his prayers had no effect on a creature that was composed of part African tradition and part European tradition. The people said that the African part was too strong. So they went to Campari Tig, or Bro Tukama, who was known to be versed in these matters. Campari Tig told them, "You should have come to me in the first place, and I would have told you what to do. Tell us now, Campari. This Lugaroo is driving us crazy." Well, the thing to do with Lugaroo is to find out where he hides his skin when he goes flying at night. When we find that out, we will fix him. The very next night, the conditions were right for flying. The old man took off his skin, as was his custom, rolled it tightly, and hid it in the corner. He went out on his rounds. A little later, Tig and one or two or more of the more courageous villagers went to the old man's house. The people had no idea he was a Luggaroo, and when he hadn't gone with them to consult either the priest or Campari Tig, they were sure. Sure enough, they found the rolled up skin. Tig took it, opened it carefully, and producing a bottle of pounded salt, proceeded to salt it down properly. Then he rolled it up and put it back in place. They had finished just in time. No sooner had the skin was back in place, they heard the old man approaching. They hid themselves as he came inside. He picked up his skin and put it on. Well, sir, they never heard such a reiterating and a calmness as went on when that salt started to burn him. He threw down the skin and went running through the village, screaming at the top of his voice. The dogs all chased him, and they could be heard howling all through the night. The old man never came back to the village, and they buried his skin under a silk cotton tree. But if you ever hear dogs howling at night, be careful. It might be a Luggaroo looking for his skin. In a footnote, Campari Tig Bro Tukamba is Anansi's youngest child in the Caribbean. He is a slow-witted, greedy foil to clever Anansi in West African tales. And the silk cotton tree, one of the places to find spirits and dupes and other supernatural beings. So I remember as a child, I think it was Mutilal or someone else said, there were certain trees you were afraid to pass late at night because they said there were jumbies in the trees. And I remember as children, we never walked past these trees. We'd always run past these trees. And it was very scary going late in the evening to buy. I remember once my mother sent us to buy ice before everyone had a refrigerator. and coming to the tree, we would take off running past this tree because we were always afraid that the Jumbi will stretch its hands out and grab you. So, well, these are the stories we were raised on as children. Okay, so that's it.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yeah, I can say that's a variation of what I knew as what I grew up hearing of the Lagahu. What we say Lagahu, the
Yeah.
same Lugaru, it means werewolf. And
Yeah.
our thing about the werewolf is somebody who turns into a werewolf with the full moon and attacks enemies. How how to get rid of the Lagahu? I never heard how to get rid of the Lagahu, but I
Really?
know of one instance in Sangre Grande. Was a night time. The neighbor came and he said, just bongs a Lagahu, yes. So we were children. Of course, he said he bongs. He say, if you see this big dog, right? Big dog come in front of his truck. He has his diesel truck. And he say he hit it. And all he do is make a little squeak. And that logged its entrails into the bush. Right? That's how he said it. So we know of the Lagahu as a werewolf. We know of the Sukuyan. That is the one who an old woman. So the Lagahu is like an old. The Sukuyan is an old woman who would take out her skin, put it in the mortar, hide it in the mortar, and turn into a ball of fire and go and suck people's blood.
Yeah.
And both of them made pacts with the devil. And the thing about the silk cotton tree is growing up here in Easton. The silk cotton tree, you fear the silk cotton tree because that's where the devil resides. The devil and his imps resides. Yeah, or his demons and so on. They reside at the base of the silk cotton tree. And if you have ever seen the silk cotton tree, it's massive. And sometimes the roots they dig out. They have parts dug out now. So it looks like if you're going into a cave.
Yeah.
So that's where we know the devil and his demons reside. So the Sukuya, when they are sucking blood, you take the skin, you put salt or pepper, more pepper.
Yeah.
So when they come back and they put it on, they ball
yeah.
You have it as Olhig in Guyana, Olhig. They ball in, and when in Sangre Grande, what we were told is how they got rid of the Sukuya. The villagers went and they put her in a barrel. They put her in a barrel and they roll her out into the river or the ocean. That's one way. Another way to catch the Sukuya was to put salt. Put salt around your doorway and windows and so on. And if she comes and she sees the salt, she will have to count every grain of salt. And by the time the sun would come up and burn her.
Yeah.
That's another way to get rid of the Sukuya.
Okay.
So these are ways I have heard growing up. So the Laga, your version is not a version that I know of with the Lagahu. But we have Caribbean tales and we have variations of it now. Okay?
Yeah.
Hi, afternoon. Could you all hear me?
Hi, yes, we can.
Oh, okay.
Alicia, yes, we can.
Oh, okay. I had some issues with my microphone.
Okay, great.
Yes. Well, in relation to what Mr. Samaru said, I know the Lukaru or the Lagahu and Sukunya as two different characters. I know for Sukunya, another word for it is ligahu, Ligaho. So
Okay.
like, I know sometimes they refer to Sukunya as Ligahu in some Caribbean places. And like
Yes.
the Loop Guru is like a werewolf, or a shapeshifter. Because like
Mhm.
people
Yes,
say
the
the,
ship.
the
Yes,
yeah,
correct.
yeah, a shapeshifter. Because like when I was in primary school, in grand school, I had this teacher, well, he passed away now. He was saying, well, he told us kids that like at night, if you're walking a lonely road and you see a coffin in front of you, you have to pick up the coffin, put it on the side of the road, and just keep walking without looking back until you reach home. And he was saying, well, the coffin is a lagahu because, or a lukaru, because like they could turn into a coffin. Well, you say all these kind of
Wow.
stories. And yeah, yeah. So yeah, and well, the silk cotton tree. I know people scared of that because, like in Gasperlo, there was a silk cotton tree by a river, and I heard stories that people used to lose their way around that vicinity. And people superstitious. They will say, well, it's the silk cotton tree and stuff like that. And it's not just in like Trinidad alone, but like in Guyana, one of my friends, we lost touch, but about 25 years ago, she told me that there's a silk cotton tree in Guyana that they don't cut down. Not even the government will cut down that tree because every time they try to cut it down, someone would die. So they just ran the roads around it. And well, this year I actually went and I saw the tree, and it does have the roads like running around it. Like they left the tree intact.
Wow.
That's quite interesting. Thanks, Alicia.
No problems.
From a
Um,
scientific point of view, the Sukunya in Trinidad is said to have traveled around as a ball of fire. And there's a very rare meteorological occurrence called ball lightning, BALL, ball lightning, which actually is lightning in the shape of a ball of light or fire, if you will, that rolls down the road for about a good half a mile or so, and then it disappears. So I wonder if ball lightning wasn't what people in the old days saw and ascribed that to being a sukunya.
it's quite possible, Frank. Quite possible. All right, we're going to move ahead to Jenny Lynn. I think we can chat for another 2 hours about our
I was just
history of
sharing
folklore.
illustration that I did last year with the Lagahu, Laja Bless, the ball of fire for Sukunya,
Is
Papa.
everyone seeing the screen? It's a picture that Jenny Lynn would have painted. Okay, great.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Visible.
Mama Delo, and you have the Duen. And so, I'm based in Mexico, so I was trying to teach people about the Trinidadian folklore. And I showed some people this painting last night. As I said, the response was, "Oh, what is the purpose of this?" But anyway, so it was interesting to hear this story, Arlene. Thank you very much. All right, so I'll stop sharing.
Do you also have something to read for us today?
Yes. So I'm going to read a short outro. You have intro. This is, I would call it an outro of a memoir that I wrote some years ago called Drive. Drive, a Trini expat comes home. And at the end, it's a bit of mental turmoil. So you will hear it in the short passage. Diary of a Trini expat. I went away and I've come back again. I have changed, or have I changed, or has my country changed? Why doesn't anyone recognize me? Where are the friends I used to know? Some have moved to distant lands. The ones left behind seem not to know me anymore. Will they accept me, or am I just like any foreigner? I've come for the laughter and enjoyment. I've come for carnival. I've come for Christmas, the parang and the soca. I crave bacchanal before I go back to the cold. What about the food? Is roti still important? Can I not get this in the big city? They say the taste is different. It's all in the seasoning. The culture must have changed. People have more foreign things than before. When I was young, Christmas was more exciting. We used to feel holy on Christmas Day. When I lived here, Carnival seemed more exciting too. When I lived here, we didn't sing Calypso on Ash Wednesday. When I lived here, we fasted during Lent and we did not party until Glorious Saturday. When I lived here, you didn't have to lock up the house or call anyone before visiting. What happened? Why has the culture changed so much? Why is it I don't recognize most people in a crowd? When did all the children become adults? I had hoped the culture would not change. I want to recapture my childhood when I visit. I've boasted to people in foreign lands about my country. Alas, it's not the same as when I left. I'm longing for a past that will never return. I start to capture or compare my country with foreign lands. Complaining gets me nowhere. Nothing is the same. Realizing the changes, I know I'll have to leave. Seeking more adventure, I know I'll have to leave again. Would my childhood ever truly come back? Would my child ever know where I came from? My family is still here, so I'll have to come back. I promise to return to recharge and renew, but I cannot stay. I'll take roti skins, Julie mango, green seasoning, and pigeon peas. I'll take some rum punch, bitters, sorrel, and Moby bark. I'll take some sugar cake, cassava pone, and pastels. Anything that will help to keep me grounded. I'll squeeze anything into that big suitcase, slowly losing ties with my roots. I'm afraid of becoming a lost soul in a watered down society. So, I wrote that because every time I go back to Trinidad, there's so much change and I just have lost touch with so many people, or they have lost touch with me. They've moved on with their lives, or they don't live there anymore. So I don't know how many people feel like this. Maybe Heather, I don't know, when you go back to Trinidad, I feel like a tourist, literally.
Yeah, I think I will fit in nowhere anymore. Neither here nor there. And you're right, it's you're a lost soul. I'm a lost soul. Yeah.
But what is worse is that for the last about 50 years, 40 something years, I've been here. And I've lost Trinidad too, and people too. So that's the other side of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think what was so wonderful that what you said is that you are never going to get it back. That it's we're trying. I mean, I understand too, living away too. You're trying to sort of get it back, and it's like you say you're never going to get it back. But yet you stuff that suitcase with all that is Trinidad.
Yes.
Okay.
Food.
And so it's I mean you laid it out so beautifully, and there is something, it's like sort of like a bittersweetness to what you wrote. I mean, it's really, yeah, it's lovely, really nice
Thank you.
stuff. Yeah, thanks.
Mental turmoil.
Thanks, Jenny Lynn. I really
Yes,
enjoyed
you're
that
welcome.
piece, especially the imagery of stuffing the suitcase. I think both ways, it's something you could relate to. Our next reader is Cassie Sengoa. Cassie?
Good show, and everyone else, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please forgive me because I didn't realize and I don't have anything that is creepy too much, and I don't want to break the
Well, not a problem. You can always save it for
10 of the
next
afternoon,
time.
Distribution. Because, everything went a particular way. I have a problem with not doing anything. I'm not holding that against anybody. It's just how I feel at this hour.
That's okay, Cassie. Thank you for attending, though. I will see if Alicia wants to finish off for us, seeing as we're hearing her.
I really enjoyed. And in particular, sorry to have to call out one person, but in particular, I enjoy Heather's work because I've been reading Cascade and so on.
Thank you, Cassie. You know, that's a
She's
labor of
so,
love. So
I'm
I
sure
appreciate, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that you research all those items that you probably know them for yourself. But like when you have to research fruits or jewelry or any list of things, it's so table and so rich and add to the color of your story. I really appreciate that, and it's a work well done. Like
Thank you,
yourself, I am trying to finish up some stuff because I too might have to do some surgery, and I really want to complete some stuff before I go there. And hopefully I'll return, but if not, my daughter will handle it, and that is how it is. So I quite understand how you feel about it.
Thank you, Cassie. Thank you.
Thanks, Cassie. Okay, we're going to move on to
Rushing
Alyssa.
stuff.
Hello? Okay,
Hi.
Alicia?
Hi, afternoon.
Okay, I'm happy you were able to get back on. Would you like to share your piece for us? You'll be our last reader for today.
Okay, well, I'll just read a very, very short story because I see it's after 3. Just very quickly before I read the inspiration for the story, hearing about people going into the forest and stumbling upon things they can't explain. So the name of the story is a short story. It's called The Hike, and here it goes. Rosalind never told me about going to the waterfall until we arrived in Tobago. I expected beaches, restaurants, and some sightseeing to historical sites. I did not expect a forest hike to some waterfall that she heard of. She said the waterfall wasn't too far inside the forest. Yet I got lost. She and I separated, and I have been walking for an hour with no clue where to go. I saw no sign of a river or waterfall. I heard no sound that resembled the noise that a waterfall or river makes. I tried to retrace my steps, but I felt like I was going deeper into the forest. Squawk, squawk! This ear-piercing noise caused the whole forest to vibrate. What on earth? A large green parrot with yellow on its head landed on the ground in front of me. He looked up and shrieked. He walked a few steps forward and flew to a nearby tree and shrieked. I wondered if I should follow him. I walked towards him. He flew off. I ran and ran, trying to keep up with this bird. Ouch! I fell face down on the forest floor. I struggled but managed to lift myself up. I looked around and I saw this huge tree. At the base of it were candles and a bowl. This bowl had some red substance encrusted on it. I looked around, no sign of the parrot. I wasted my time to run after him. Is where that parrot gone? I muttered angrily. I heard a loud squawk. When I looked to the large tree, the parrot stood near the bowl. Without warning, the parrot began to grow. Its face changed, its wings grew out, and its feathers shrunk. This was no parrot. Instead, a tall, dark, menacing figure stood before me. Was I dreaming? A long arm shot out and grabbed my right arm. I screamed and screamed. Its touch burned into my skin. The agony was unbearable. "Oh Lord Jesus, help!" I shouted. The forest trees were spinning. I felt as though I was on a rocky boat. Light was fading and everything went dark. That pain. I awoke in a hospital bed. Rosalind was sitting with her face in her hands near my bedside. "What happened to you, girl?" I asked. "Rena, girl, we was looking for you. We calling, then we come across you lying down in the forest." I started crying because me and know what going on, but then they say you're breathing and they get a pulse. Rosalind hugged me tightly. A sharp pain shot through my upper arm. When I looked, a large handprint had been burnt into my skin. The end. Okay, so yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Alyssa. Any
Okay.
comments?
Well, I'm is the parrot led you astray, or the parrot led you deeper into the forest? Is that my understanding?
Yeah, yeah. The parrot
Okay.
deliberately was getting the hiker lost. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And like
Also,
the sorry, go ahead.
no, it reminds me of a Jumbi story that my dad told about someone being led away into the bush by a ghost, you know. But and when they found this person, they had like a fever, and they had to perform certain rituals to bring this person back to reality, but that the ghost wanted to take them. So now I'm just wondering if it's fiction or
Well,
creative
it's
nonfiction.
I wouldn't. Well, it's definitely a story I made up, but like it's kind
Okay.
of loosely based on a variety of stories I've heard. Plus,
Yeah.
there was a time I went to a river in Vancouver, and like we went to do a school-based assessment. I went with the students, and
Yeah.
like near the river, like people had like these candles and baskets with fruit, and you could see like people were doing little rituals there. So
Yeah.
like and I've also heard stories about people like going into the forest, and near to
Yeah.
trees they find like these items. Like in the story, there's a bowl with red. Well, the red stuff encrusted is supposed to be blood. So like you
Yeah.
hear stories about people going into the forest to conduct like these blood rituals and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So like
Okay.
it was like a mixture of like different things I've heard of.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, 'cause like in Trinidad, I don't know, people like to go in the forest and like near rivers to do those things.
Yes, they do. And then people have to clean it up after. I
Yes,
remember
it's
doing a beach
terrible.
cleanup, and
Yeah.
we found a lot of clothes buried.
Hmm.
And someone told us, be careful picking those things up because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess when people have problems, they come and
Yeah.
they take off their clothes and take a sea bath and they bury the clothes they came in, I guess, leaving the problems there
Yeah.
Yeah.
and go return. I guess maybe they have clean clothes with them. I don't know. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that's something that a little bit of
Kush, let me
um
just slip in my
folklore.
final comment for today.
Sure. And then we'll
Right.
close off with your comment,
So,
Christian, because
yes.
it's already
So
3:10.
when it's night and you hear these things, or when these things occur at night, it's scary. When it's when it occurs in the daytime, sun shining, then to me it's beyond scary. So I will leave you with this one anecdote. I attended a funeral in Senegal. So we go into the cemetery now. That is Turere Cemetery. Turere Cemetery. I noticed somebody behind me, a woman following me. So I just continued, go to the gathering where at the hole now. So I look back, I see she there. I look back again, I see she, right? I tell you, this is about what, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I may pay no attention to it really. So they started sing the gathering now. They started sing the hymns and so on. So I'm looking for the person in the gathering, and I'm not seeing the person. And that is it. Who was this person following me? And I'm not seeing them in the gathering, and it's just a few of us at the cemetery. So that's when it's more scary. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you
is
so
very
much, Krishna.
scary.
And with that, we will close off the meeting. It is 3:11, so thank you for everyone that came out and shared and listened. It's always important for us to remember our folklore because I think it's
Yeah.
one of those times where we really get to reconnect and remember the times when current would go and your father would tell you a scary story. So thank you to everyone that came out. And this is the end of Poetry and Prose for today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.
Well,
Good
everybody.
night.
Althea,
Was
when did you grow up?
I grew
In the
up
Virgin.